There are things we sometimes do as adult children that can hurt our parents deeply, and they're usually fueled by miscommunication or a lack of boundaries. Now, this can all be kind of frustrating. It's easy to feel like our parents get a bit needy as time goes on, and it can be even harder if you have any kind of strain between you and your parents. Still, every relationship needs a bit of care and maintenance to stand the test of time, and recognizing these behaviors can be the first step to nurturing a healthier relationship with your parents. Here are 8 things adult children often do without realizing it that can hurt their parents deeply. Ignoring calls and texts hurts parents more than you realize. Even if there's a distance between you and your parents, small acts of contact and kindness can go a long way in fostering a relationship with them. As we grow into fully realized adults, our lives become more chaotic with jobs, our own families, our own lives. So it's important to make space for our parents. It helps them continue to feel loved, appreciated, and thought of when you reach out. And this is a hard one for some of us, but phone calls are almost always preferable. They are from a different era after all, and they long to hear your voice. But even sending a text or a funny photo can go a long way too. Skipping holiday visits can leave parents feeling neglected. Now, sometimes this just can't be helped. We all have obligations, including oftentimes to our in-laws, and we should invest in our own lifestyles and relationships, including forming traditions. But completely disregarding family traditions or not making your parents the priority when you do travel home is one of the key ways we can hurt our parents without realizing it. So when possible, cherish traditions with your parents. They evoke nostalgia, which can not only boost mood while reducing stress and anxiety, but also enhance feelings of connection. Leaving parents out of big life events. Giving us a sense of independence and autonomy is one of our parents' key jobs, of course, and admittedly, a lot of parents can get a little needy when we lean into it. But we can also sometimes lean into it a bit too heavily and end up disregarding our parents in subtle ways we don't realize. Our parents want to be included in important events and celebrations, and even just a phone call to let them know about that work promotion or your kid hitting a new milestone can help them feel like they're still a part of the independent life you've created. Revisiting old arguments in anger and without resolution can harm the relationship. These days, thanks to how easily accessible information is, many adult children are starting to understand the link between their current struggles and childhood experiences. And listen, a lot of you are not going to like what I'm about to say, but I'm speaking from a lot of lived experience here, so hear me out. It's important to remember that this topic can be overwhelming for our parents because these conversations often inspire guilt and shame. That's what's actually underneath all that defensiveness and denial we often encounter when we do try to broach these topics with our parents. It's usually not that they're uncaring monsters, they're just feeling unsafe. Because that's just how human brains work. And like so many things, the approach you take can make all the difference. Bringing up old conflicts or arguments in an open, honest, calm, and loving way, even if they don't deserve it, has a better chance of sparking a conversation rather than a fight. In the end, it all depends on what your goal is, and if it's to heal and grow, approaching the conversation with understanding rather than simply accusations is the right foot to start on. Failing to check in on parents' well-being creates distance. A study from the University of Virginia found that nearly 30% of parents would prefer to be best friends with their adult children, which is a bit much, but it's possible to continue cultivating a close relationship with proper boundaries. It's all about communication. Reaching out to see how your parents are doing, especially as they get older and their lives begin to revolve more and more around their health, makes them feel genuinely heard and valued. Overstepping parental boundaries causes frustration. In the same way that parents can have a tendency to demand too much of their adult children, that dynamic can work in the other direction too. Some adult children may feel entitled to their parents' time, energy, space, money, especially when they come home to visit. They can sometimes prioritize their own comfort over their parents' needs, which is understandable. That's our childhood home after all. But it's important to remember that we are, at the end of the day, on their turf. And they may need to reassert and communicate their boundaries in these situations. But psychologist Jeffrey Bernstein says that that's actually a win-win for everyone involved because it promotes honesty, empathy, and connection before resentment grows. So try to be open to it. And speaking of visits home, criticizing parents' routines or choices can really damage a relationship. Change is pretty much the only constant in life. That's a cliche for a reason. And that includes the lives of our parents. As kids grow up and leave home, parents are rather abruptly left to figure out how their lives will shift at the same time their kids are learning new routines too. This change can be empowering, but it's also a bit uncomfortable, and we have to give each other grace rather than criticism. It's important to find common ground. And I say this as a person with very different religious and political views from my parents. I've had to work very hard to cultivate a relationship built on mutual respect, and it isn't easy. But it can be done, and it's worth it if everyone is willing to put in the effort. Dismissing parents' emotions strains the bond. Invalidating your parents' emotions makes them feel unheard, unvalued, and misunderstood, and that can spark real resentment and disconnection. The bottom line is that the way your mom or dad feels is real to them, and you aren't responsible for their feelings, but it's important to allow them to have them. Not making space for your parents' experiences or emotions isolates them, and it strains their ability to maintain a trusting and communicative relationship. Parents need to hold space for the emotions of their adult children, and those adult children should return the favor. So if your parents are still around and it's healthy for you to do so, maybe today is a good day to pick up the phone or stop by and do a bit of relationship work with them. Let them know how much you care, even as you navigate your own complicated life.